TheAngryHoneyBadger.
Hey everyone, it is TheAngryHoneyBadger here, and it is time for another champion build video. Today we will be playing as Garen, a champion you might not actually see as much as you think you would, but we're going to talk a lot about Garen today. We're going to talk about his abilities, we're going to talk about his items that you're going to want to buy on him, his runes and his masteries, and a little strategy and reasons why Garen might be a good choice for you or why he might not be a good choice for you to be playing. So first thing we want to do in this video is actually talk about his abilities so we know what we're talking about as this game progresses with the rest of his kit and everything else. So we're actually going to hold off for a second as we get into a small fight. Now we're trying to get this wave pushed against the tower. Aurelia's taking too much damage from the minions. I want those to die to the turret anyways while I'm getting ganked by Elise. Now I can turn on her solo-y because she is also taking minion damage too. So I have minions fighting for me right now. She repels. I'm just going to start spinning, and luckily we get out of that situation with about 100 health, not even. Pretty close, but we pick up double buffs, and I knew Aurelia couldn't join the party. She would have taken too much minion damage, and because I had hit her, would have probably picked up a kill on her as well. But that's going to help us out early on through this game. But let's jump back to our abilities now. At the beginning, obviously, we have our passive, your Perseverance. What happens here is Garen regenerates 0.4% of his maximum health per second after not receiving any damage taken for 9 seconds. It's pretty nice. So you just have lots of sustain while you really are in lane, as long as you're not taking a lot of damage from the enemy champion. So that's pretty helpful there. At level 1, I like putting a point into my Q ability. This is your Decisive Strike. Garen removes all slows on him and gains 35% movement speed for a duration of time. It gets increased as the levels are put into it. His next melee attack will also deal additional damage, scales from attack damage, and he will silence his enemy, which is kind of nice for 2.5 seconds. Get into another little fight. We're just going to flash forward. We still have the red buff proc, and they're going to burn out, helping us pick up a kill on Aurelia. Pretty close fight there, but we did okay there, and we picked up another kill. But that is your Q ability at level 1. And then at level 2, we put a point into our Judgment. Your Judgment is your E ability. Garen's going to spin in circles. He's going to spin to win. He's going to spin for 3 seconds. He's going to be dealing physical damage. It does scale from attack damage as well to enemies that are around him. You can cancel this if you want to early, if you want to use something else or do something else. Garen ignores unit collision while spinning, but takes 20% movement speed penalty while passing through minions, so you always have to be aware of that. Minions do reduced damage taken to them a little bit, so not quite the full amount, but you can still clear out waves pretty easily with it. So you can be a little aware of that. And then typically around level 3 or 4, we're going to put a point to our Courage, which is your W ability. Now passively, Garen's armor and his max resist are going to be permanently increased by 20%, and of your whatever your amounts are on your bonus armor and magic resist. And then actively, Garen's going to place a defensive shield around himself, decreasing all damage taken by 30% and reducing the duration of crowd control effects by 30%. For a few seconds based on how many points you've put into that ability. And then at level 6, you're going to put a point into your Demacian Justice. Garen brings down the Demacian Justice on his opponent, dealing magic damage to them. It's actually magic damage, plus 1 additional damage per amount of health his opponent is missing. Whether it's 3.53 or 2.5, depending on the the level it is. So a lot of magic damage actually coming in on that. So the lower they are, the more damage it will do. There we did the quick combo that you would do to pretty much anyone if you wanted to end them off. We ran in faster with our Decisive Strike. We then spun on them while they were silenced, and then right before they were able to probably do a flash or something like that, we would bust out the Demacian Justice to finish them off if we think they're low enough based off their health and the damage it's going to do, that magic damage it's going to do. So that is just the basics to his abilities. You can spin on waves to clear them out. You can silence your opponent if you want them to not do anything else. You can also use your Q ability, which is your Decisive Strike, to run away while you are in lane if you're getting ganked. That bonus movement speed is really helpful, and it can help keep you safe. Here we have found us getting ganked. We're just going to flash, get us safe, avoid whatever we needed to. But that's just kind of the basics behind your abilities. What we're going to do, though, with our abilities is max out our E, followed by our Q, And then we're going to max out our courage last. Just make sure you get 1 point into that to get that passive is very helpful. And you can activate it as well, which is very good while you're in lane if you're taking some more damage. And then obviously, you know, the ultimate points into that at levels 6, 11, and 16. Now let's talk a little bit about his items, since we bought a few. At level 1, I actually started with a longsword and some pots. Now we want to start out with some decent damage on Garen early because he actually does a lot of early and mid-game damage. He starts to fall off a little late game on his damage. We'll talk about that in a second. But what we did is early on we could pick up a brutalizer, which makes really our judgment, all that spinning, it does a lot of damage because of it. Also, his Q ability and his judgment, they both scale pretty well from attack damage, although we don't want to just build him glass cannon. We'll talk about why that's not a good idea later as well. So we get good damage on that, which allows us to kind of be a little bit of a lane bully, and then we do have our passive kind of backing us up with that health regen when we're not really in combat, helping us stay up in lane to then do those trades further on. We also did pick up Ninja Tabi. It's going to help us out a little bit in this game against that physical damage threats coming in on their team. They have a Yasuo, a Quinn, Aurelia, so they have some physical damage units that are going to be dealing that to us, and it's going to be nice to negate some of that. We also have picked up a little bit of health, and then we've also started building towards the works of what will be a Sunfire Cape, which is going to help Garen with a few other things he does well, and we'll talk about those in a second too. Moving into mid lane, we get the silence off on Yasuo. He's going to turn to fight us because he's got nowhere to go. We're just going to drop down the big sword and end his life. And yeah, pretty simple stuff, pretty easy. Like I said, the real combination to Garen is you run in onto him with your decisive strike, your Q. You're going to hit him with it, which will then silence them. You're then going to spin all over their face with that judgment and then drop down the Demacian Justice. That's pretty much the wombo combo with Garen. Now, luckily, the wombo combo with Garen is really simple, and that is why I like to recommend Garen to pretty much anyone who is new to the role, whether it is in top lane or if you're new to the game. He's really simple. It's really easy to use. Casting his abilities are free. There's no mana cost. It's just cooldown based. You don't have to worry about running out of mana while you are in lane. He's got a great passive that helps you out. So if you're newer to League of Legends, I very, very much so recommend Garen as a starter champion. He's very easy to get a hang of and just kind of understand. Spin on waves, pick up easy farm that way, get very tanky too as the game progresses, only pick up a little bit of damage, and it really goes a long way. So that's what we're going to do with Garen. We're not going to catch up to that fight because we don't have any initial gap closers, which is one drawback to Garen. We're going to just flash here, and within the Sunfire Cape damage, that's going to kill off Lulu. We almost had that Demacian Justice perfect for that. And then we're just going to then go chase down this Aurelia quick. She's actually taking a little bit of damage once again from the Sunfire Cape range, so we're able to pick up another kill there, and that is really, really helpful. We're doing quite good this game. This is kind of how Garen works. He doesn't really run into any major issues, so that's one nice thing about Garen. Now, let's talk a little bit about those Masteries and Runes. First off, Masteries, pretty simple. We're going to go with a 9-21-0. Things about Garen, pros-wise, he has good early and mid-game damage without really having to build attack damage. Luckily, we just finished off our Black Cleaver, which does give us good attack damage, actually, which is nice. It's an added bonus, really. That's our one main damage item that we want. Helps us get us through early game and mid-game by being a little bit more of a bully. But because he has a weaker late game, we want 21 in the defense that helps us out there. You can see the points I put in those Masteries pages down below. In the description, there are links to Mastery page videos for all champions, or at least roles. Then for those runes, there's a couple different choices. Kind of a generically good one is attack damage marks, armor seals, scaling magic resist per level glyphs, and then movement speed or attack damage or health regen, Quints, whatever you want to run there. All those are helpful for different reasons. Take the ones that help you most. If you want health regen because you would have an easier lane and just have tons of health regen with your passive, that works really, really well. If you want to have attack damage for even more bullying early on to help pick up kills, also very good. And if you want mobility, also good for just chasing down people or while you're spinning around. So all of those things, very, very helpful. Any of those three will be great. Now, let's go back to those pros and cons, though, for Garen. Like I was saying early on, you have that good early and mid-game damage. It's very helpful. It tends to scale off a little bit as the game goes on, though. That is a con. Now, next, he's pretty easy to pick up. That's one. But it's also easy to kill AD carries and AP mages. They typically don't build tons and tons of health or resists. So you can typically run up onto them, you know, do the combo, the Q, E, R, and that will pretty much, that one combo can pretty much end out anyone. You take Ignite on top of that, you're just going to secure it even more. So that is very helpful. So that's great. That's another good pro to Garen. He does have good mobility and good split pushing. The mobility is built into, obviously, that Q. When he activates it, he can run faster, which is nice. You'll see me using it to get around lane because it doesn't cost me anything except for cooldowns. So it's very good for split pushing. Also, he split pushes really well because typically you're always going to pick up a Sunfire Cape doing all that magic damage around you all the time, and because of his spin. You just clear waves easily. You can also use your Q ability, in case you're wondering, your Decisive Strike. You can use that on turrets as well. So you can do extra damage to them too and reset your auto attack. Works really, really well. Makes him a decent split pusher. And like I said, most of the time, as long as you're doing equally or a little ahead, you'll probably be able to solo anyone while you are split pushing as well. So, and then all you have to do if you want to continue the split push, step out of combat for those seconds, get that health regeneration from your passive back up, and then continue your split push. So he becomes kind of a bully with the split push. As you can see, that's really what I'm doing right now. Is we're just split pushing. That's what we want to do. Works really well. So that's what we're working on. Now, a little bit more. Another good pro, he becomes extremely tanky as the game goes on. As we can see from the build, we've also picked up a Warden's Mail and another Giant's Belt. We're getting very tanky. That's what we want to focus on. We have the scaling magic resist in our glyphs, so that's keeping us safe on the magic resist side for now. But like I said, most of the time, you want to really be building that armor. You're going to be up in the front line. You're going to be taking a lot of physical attack from those basic attacks, especially from the carries. So you're going to be taking a lot of physical damage. So picking up this armor is very, very necessary. And that is what we're, you know, prioritizing in the build. So that's what we have currently going for us. So you become extremely tanky late game. Another thing about cons, though, we'll jump back to that. One big con, which is a big reason why people don't play Garen, he has no immediate gap closer, no instant, you know, blink to someone or flash to get in to deal all of that damage. So you have to be really careful about that. But here you can see the immediate tankiness. We have three people on us. We can just activate, you know, do our spinning, do our silences, do whatever we want, still take the damage. Now if we stand outside of combat for a second, we really will be able to, you know, start regenerating. We're not going to right now, though. We're still in the fight, but we're going to be able to pick up a kill on Yasuo. We're going to flash to get right out of range. We had about... Wow, did we have under 10 health there? We had under 10 health, but, you know, it's going to happen. We'll get out of close situations, but, you know, very tanky, and we have a lot of gold to go out back and buy right now, which we will pick up the Omen, which will help us out a little bit with some crowd control, and then we're also going to pick up a little bit of magic resist, which will probably be built towards our either a Banshee's Veil if you want to have that, or the Spirit Visage. The Visage will help us with our passive too when we're out of combat. It'll give us even more health regen because of the passive on Spirit Visage, so either of those would work very well. Now, continuing on with a little bit of unfortunateness, really, the cons, going back to those. No immediately hard CC, he's just got the silence. It's helpful, but it's not a lot. And then he is reliant on his team's damage come late game. You can build Glass Cannon, Garen. Obviously, he would not live to anything like how I'm currently living while these three go after me. And that's a problem. He needs to live, he needs to be tanky. That is where Garen does the most work. Being tanky and being annoying. He can run straight through teams, get to the back line, and annoy those mages and those AD carries, and solo them out because of his ultimate and the damage that just comes from just that one real item. Like I said, I'd be finishing out the one of those Banshee's Veil or the Spirit Visage right now. As for a final item, this is the only champion I'll consider building this item on, is an Atma's Impaler. With this much health, it gets you a little armor too and a little crit, which whatever, it can work on his spin. It actually does give him okay attack damage. The only champion I'd ever consider an Atma's. But typically, you're either going to want to pick up a Thornmail or a Maw Malmortius, and that's going to help you out. But that's going to be a build for Garen. Everything you need to know is down below in the description. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below, and I'll just see all of you in the next build video. All right, we put down the slow to slow these two. Mord keeps chasing. He gets a little bit of a shield up, but guess what? One more pop. He's so low, I go to ult, but guess what? He dies to minions. So we would have secured it anyways, but, you know, whatever. He overcommitted. That would be him showing that he's not amazing. Also, then we get the move in also, and we get Game Station to pick up another kill, and we pick up another assist. So pretty helpful stuff right there for us. So